Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
So, in true caffeinated crimes fashion, we are here talking about the weather once again, but we did get some
hmm
snow this weekend, so that was exciting.
Yeah, we missed the ice.
Yes, thank
Thoughts to
goodness.
everyone who lost power for probably,
Yes.
I hope you have power by the time this comes out. It's hard to
Yeah.
tell because I know people on like 2 weeks with no power.
Yeah. It was really rough, like middle and more western Tennessee.
Yeah. I had someone on my team too who didn't have power for like almost a week, and her
Ugh.
pipes were also frozen. So she was
Yeah.
like, I'm just melting ice on kerosene to get my rabbits water.
Oh my
Like,
gosh. Yeah,
yeah.
because like no power and also frigid temperatures, just like so
Yeah.
cold.
And she lives in like the middle of nowhere. So it's like she couldn't,
Yeah.
it's not like you can just, go somewhere.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we got snow, just nice, dry, fluffy snow,
Perfect snow. Perfect
beautiful
snow.
snow.
Not
Beautiful.
good snowman snow. Like you couldn't really pack it in very
Yeah.
well. It was like too fluffy for that, but great sledding snow, I will say. We had a great
That
time
makes me
sledding.
think. I know they're just rage bait posts on Facebook, like the posts people make just so people like comment and get mad. But
Hmm.
someone's like, there's something suspicious about this snow. You can't make it to a snowman. I saw a video and someone can't even burn it. This isn't real snow. It's defined by the government. And I'm just
Oh
like,
my
oh my
gosh.
God. I can't. I can't.
Yeah. It's always nice to get, one or two good snows.
Mm-hmm.
Almost at a summer. No, a winter. My
Yeah.
brain is back on summer already. But apparently we got 6 more weeks of winter because it is Groundhog Day as we are recording this. And the groundhog did or did not see his shadow. I can never remember which it is. But he says 6 more weeks of winter, whichever one that is.
He said it. He was like, 6 more weeks as it
He,
came
he,
out.
he checked the box. He's like, yes.
Yep.
What is it? If he sees it, it's 6 more weeks.
I think it's if he. Ugh,
You
I
know, we
can't
have this
remember.
wonderful machine called Google. I'm gonna look it up right
Google.
now.
Can we just talk about how weird Groundhog Day is? Can we
It
just
really is. It's an
like
odd day.
it makes no sense. And it's also like if he sees his shadow, do groundhogs recognize what shadows are? It's can we see his shadow, right? I mean, he can't confirm or deny if he saw his shadow.
That is a good point. That is a good point. Okay, so if he does see his shadow, there's 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't,
Okay.
or if we don't, I guess, then it's going to be an early spring. So he did not. He did. I already forgot. I just
He
scratched this
saw
whole
it.
thing.
Yeah. We saw it. They saw it.
We saw
The government orchestrated it. I mean, it would make sense, honestly, to have 6 more weeks of winter, though, because it is the coldest it's been all winter.
Yeah,
Like, it was 60 on Christmas.
yeah.
So we had to get cold
That's
eventually.
true. That's true.
So,
Also, Andrew lifted my spirits tonight by informing me and Millie that a month from today, we will have 1 hour more of daylight per day.
yeah, because we've already passed the
The
longest
winter
day.
solstice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the longest night, I guess.
Yes.
Not longest day.
Feels like the longest day, but technically it's the shortest
Let me tell
day.
you, the sun has been setting pretty early, but the day is still feeling long.
But yes, our sunsets are starting to get a little bit later. The sunrise starting to get a little bit earlier. And yeah, a month from now,
hmm
which will be 2 weeks from now when you guys are hearing this, we'll have a
Yeah.
whole extra hour of daylight. And then before you know it, the time's going to change. And then we got those 7, 8 p.m.
Yeah, because that's
sunsets.
in March
March. Yeah. I think
sometime.
like
So,
mid-March or so,
like the
something like
second
that.
weekend, I think,
Yeah.
like 14th, 15th-ish, but
Hmm.
we're almost there.
We are getting there. We're like halfway through winter. It's going
It's
great.
fine. We're
Yeah.
fine. Everybody's fine.
Everything is okay. No one is seasonally depressed.
hmm Speaking of seasonal depression and ice, I guess.
Great segue.
Yeah. So last episode, which was severely outdated, we talked about Renee Good. Not outdated, but we weren't breaking any news to you.
Yeah.
This is also kind of similar, but we felt necessary to bring up his name, and that's Alex Preddy. He was also killed by ICE in Minneapolis. Um, another example of the administration trying to lie to us about things right in front of our face, claiming
Mm-hmm.
he had a gun pointed at them, which is not true. He was recording them. His gun was on his hip. He would have legally had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's this very funny thing where the 2A people are being like, well, why did he have a gun? When
Mm-hmm.
they were the same people praising Kyle Rittenhouse for being a 17-year-old with an AK-47 at a protest that was illegal.
Exactly. Exactly. Where are the Don't Tread on Me folks now? Where are you guys now?
Yeah.
Nowhere. Nowhere, because that
So
isn't what
in
it's really about
2020,
for
you were
you.
saying the government shouldn't tell you to wear a mask, but now you're telling everyone to carry papers around because that's just normal?
Hmm. And also for years have been saying that the Democrats are trying to take your guns when right now your government is literally taking your gun from you and murdering you in the street. And that is okay.
Yeah.
That is okay. Your gun that you are
Who's
legally
covering their
carrying.
face?
Hmm.
Covering their faces,
No
not,
identity. We don't know
yeah.
who these people are.
Yeah. So, um, there was like at the time of this recording a pretty big protest on Friday. I saw a lot of people in a lot of different states
Hmm.
show up and show out, which was really amazing. A
Yeah.
lot of different like businesses I saw in Knoxville who were like opening their doors to be like, if you need to come here, whatever. So,
Andrew
marking
saw a
that
lot
on my
of
list.
high school students out on Friday too, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know a lot of it was like high schoolers trying to organize it because of the whole um at least here, I don't know everywhere, but like I think the Knox County superintendent was like, "Hey, if ICE comes in, like we'll treat them like
Hmm.
law enforcement and comply." And
Yeah.
then students are like, "Fuck you,"
Yeah.
basically. Um, but yeah, we just gotta stand up, stand, fuck ICE. I'll say it loud,
Hmm.
I'll say it proud. Um, but yeah,
It's just so, I don't know. I just don't even have any words, you know?
yeah. And it's like the whole thing too is it's like even people who are here like undocumented, like they're still trying, like they're picking these people up from like going to their court visits, like going to
Hmm.
check-ins that they have to do. Like they're following the rules that have been laid out for them. They can't just
Yeah,
be like fill out an application and be like, I'm a citizen now. Like it takes years. So
exactly.
they're like picking them up like people who have like asylum papers, like the
Hmm.
5-year-old boy who they literally kidnapped to like draw his dad out
Yep.
literally had like asylum papers that they were
Hmm.
like going to court attendings for. And they're picking people up from there. And there's also like no due process. You're just like throwing them in cages.
Yeah.
And like people love to be like, oh, well, Obama did the same thing. Like, yes, but there was due process. And also, you're comparing a number of an 8-year presidency to a year of
Hmm.
Donald Trump. Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yes.
And this is politics now. No
Do
quiet
we have
snacks in this
anything?
house.
What?
No quiet snacks in this
No,
house.
never. Do we have anything uplifting before we go from one sad to
Mm.
another sad? I know that's what the perk of the week is at the what? The perk of the week at the end of the episode is for, but do we got anything to Okay, I got one. So my 4-year-old is super into jokes right now. But of course she doesn't understand how jokes work, so she's just like, why did this? And
Chicken
then ex
potato.
100%, were you here tonight? Because that's exactly like it's that's exactly how it goes. But Andrew did tell her a joke that she like delivers perfectly and it's really funny. So to hear her say it, it's, a lot better than me. But why do seagulls fly over the sea?
Why?
Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels. And
That's a pretty
she
good one.
she tells it
That's
all the
that's
time.
impressive that she kind of remembers because
I I'm telling
that's
you,
not why did the chicken cross the road to get the egg, you know? Like
exactly. Exactly.
that's
And
some
then
words she's memorizing.
her delivery is good. Like she's on it. She does also love a why did the chicken cross the road and then insert whatever random sentence comes out of her
Eli
mouth.
and Amelia did that a lot, where it would be like, "Why the chicken cross the road? Why?" Because he saw a Nintendo Switch over there, and he really wanted to play Mario Kart, and he thought it would be cool to be Bowser. Like, okay, cool.
Do you remember, so sorry to go off topic here. I hope you listeners just skip ahead if you need to. We were talking recently about how children of that age just say the most, what would you do if this,
Hmm.
happened? Whatever, the most random thing that comes out of their mouth, and you're just like, I don't even know how to respond to anything. We were in the car the other day, and Millie's like, what would you do if there was a chicken in your brain? And then you just opened your mouth and it came out. I was like, I don't know what I would do
I
if
think I'd
that
go to the
happened.
hospital.
I would be very concerned if that happened. But speaking of chickens, we are going to talk about chickens in the second paragraph of this episode, so we'll just get on into it.
Get into it.
Um, so shout out to my cousin Sam who recommended this episode. I think he has listened to maybe a single episode of this podcast, so I will have to make sure he knows that this came out.
Maybe Sydney or Gail will tell him in 3.5 years when they get caught up.
Yes, yes, that sounds about right. Um, but he did recommend this. So we used a documentary called Duct Tape Messiah, the Blaze Foley documentary, an Austin Chronicle article, an article from lostartrecords.com, a Newsbank Inc. article called like Austin American Statesman, and also a blog type post from michaelcorcoran.net. So Blaze Foley was a country music singer and songwriter who was infamous around the Austin music scene in the 1980s. Unfortunately, Blaze and his music did not rise to fame elsewhere until after his murder in 1989. So Blaze Foley was born Michael David Fuller in 1949 in Arkansas, and he went by Mike to his family. Mike contracted polio as a child and had a slight lifelong limp because of it. He did grow up in Texas and sang gospel music with his family in a group called the Fuller family. His family was Pentecostal, and his dad was very abusive to all of them. They drove around in an old school bus singing gospel music, and they would get paid in chickens, eggs, and canned goods. So there's your chickens. I promise it was there.
They were coming. You knew
Yes,
it.
yes. So Mike liked singing gospel music, although he wasn't very religious himself, but like the music part he was really into. He had one brother and at least two sisters. I couldn't find a whole lot of information about like his family of origin. Could not find his brother's name. One of his sisters was named Marcia, and like I said, I know there were at least two of them, but there may have been more. So Mike's mom taught him the three guitar chords she knew, and then she said after that he just became a self-taught musician. So unfortunately, their dad would trade the canned goods they were given for singing for liquor, and Marcia remembered her dad punching her in the face as a child. He would often leave for several days at a time and then come back high on barbiturates and threaten to kill the family. On the documentary, his mom was saying, like, I just thought when you got married, you had to stay married. So I put up with it for 30 years. And in the documentary, like, she was very old, and it was really sad to see her, like,
Hmm.
thinking back on that time of her life. And she's just like, that's what I thought you were supposed to do. And so I didn't leave.
I feel like there was a lot of that where it was like, this is just what a marriage is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said they did have some good years as a family, but it was mostly hard times. She would try to leave her husband, and then he would end up going to one of their preachers who would then go back to her and convince her to stay, which is just, again, part of the times. And you have the church telling you that you need to stay in this abusive relationship no matter what because you made these vows, because you have children, whatever it is. Like she was trying to get the courage to stay, and then he would talk to their
Hmm.
preacher, and they're like, you need to come back.
Yeah.
So Mike asked her how she could stand it, and he's like, you just need to take Marcia and leave. And so she did finally listen, and they left, but his dad did seem to find them wherever they went. So Mike moved to Memphis because his mom's brother was there, and he got himself a small trailer. And eventually his dad found him and forced himself into the tiny trailer as well. And so Mike left to get away from him for good, and that's when he really dove into his music. So he was working as a credit manager at a store called Grant's, and when Grant's went bankrupt, Mike decided that he was going to hitchhike across the country and play his guitar. So he was a roadie with Buzzard's Roost from 1971 to 1975, but this was a very unhappy time in his life. So he had gained a lot of weight, and people were really making fun of him. He eventually lost the weight, and people started calling him Deputy in 1974 because he wore a hat that looked like the cartoon character Deputy Dog. So he was inspired by the music of Merle Travis, Red Foley, and Hank Williams, and he was also really affected by John Prine's songs as well. So Mike, also known as Deputy at this point, tried going by Blue Foley for a bit because he was so inspired by Red Foley, and this eventually morphed into Blaze Foley in 1976, which is what he went by for the rest of his life.
Hmm.
So in 1976, Blaze was playing in a new theater at the Mill and met a woman named Sybil Rosen. So this story is very odd, but this is how the
Also,
woman
what a
tells
name,
it.
Sybil Rosen.
Yeah,
That sounds like it should be like one word.
it really does. Yeah.
Sybil Rosen.
Sybil Rosen. So supposedly, someone else working at this theater kidnapped a girl he was in love with and like took her upstairs. And all of the men in the theater went to confront him. And then someone came out yelling that he had a gun, and everyone ran and hid. And she's telling this story as it's just a very funny, wild thing that happened to
Just an
her.
everyday occurrence.
And I'm just watching this documentary, like, what is happening right now? And she's just like, yeah, like this, he was in love with this girl, and like he just kidnapped her and took her upstairs. So all the men decided they were gonna do something, and then they started yelling, everyone had a gun, and then they all like ran back, ha ha ha. What? What? So, but after all that, Blaze and Sybil somehow ended up in a closet together once everyone was like running from this crazed gunman who had kidnapped a woman. And Sybil said when they emerged 3 hours later, they were in love. So that's all it took, I guess. So the two moved into a treehouse on their friend's property, and they just loved it. But this was a very nice treehouse. Like it had multiple rooms, it had a propane stove and heat, and it wasn't just like a tiny little like childhood treehouse. It was like a nice
It was like an
treehouse.
actual house and a tree. You gotta be
Yes.
careful with that propane stove though, because the whole tree is gonna
It's a
catch
lot
on
of
fire.
wood. Yeah, yeah, you gotta be real careful with that. Um, but they were just in love and like living off the grid in their own little tree house. Sybil said they would bake potatoes at night and wrap them in towels and put them by their feet in the bed to keep them warm at night. And then in the morning, they would make hash browns from them, which I thought was adorable and funny.
That's so funny.
So Blaze started writing a lot of his music in this treehouse, and that's where he wrote his song "Living in the Woods in a Tree." So a couple of lyrics from that song include, "Some folks think we're a little deranged. That's the way it is. Probably will never change. We don't care 'cause you gotta be strange when you're living in the woods and the trees. Cook our breakfast whenever we rise. Play a little music for the butterflies. Say pretty things looking into our eyes. Laughing in the woods and the trees." And it's just a very sweet song about just living in the
Hmm.
trees with your woman.
Yeah.
And Blaze often jokingly went by Mr. Rosen and said he would take Sybil's name. So the two never legally married, but they jumped the broom with their friends and told everyone they were married.
Isn't that
And
like the old-fashioned way of being married that like
yeah,
doesn't involve the government? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's like,
They
no, we
sound
jumped
like
the
hippies.
broom.
They're like, no, we don't need the government involved in this.
I don't need a certificate or a piece of paper. Like, no, we're
Yeah.
married. So Blaze said they needed to move to Austin for him to pursue his music, so they left their little treehouse. And once they got settled in Austin, Blaze started traveling frequently. He was playing his music in New Orleans, Atlanta, Chicago, and he thought maybe he could break into the business in Chicago, so he convinced Sybil to move there with him. They rented a little apartment and had $50 to their name. And one day, Blaze came home and played his song, "If Only I Could Fly." And I'm going to give you some more lyrics. You need to look up the songs. I wish we could just play a clip, but I don't want to get any copyright issues.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read you the lyrics, but go look them up. They are some really nice songs. But so one day he comes home to this apartment they've just moved to and sings her this song. And it includes, "If I could only fly, if I could only fly, I bid this place goodbye to come and be with you. But I can hardly stand, I got nowhere to run, another sinking sun, another lonely night. The wind keeps blowing somewhere every day. Tell me things get better somewhere up the way. Just dismal thinking on a dismal day, sad songs for us to bear." And Sybil said she knew that like this was the end. She's like, he can't like be tied to this lifestyle. And basically
Hmm.
she said when he came home and played that song, she knew that things were kind of over.
Hmm.
Blaze did leave soon after that, and she only saw him one other time, which we will talk about later. Sybil said Blaze was very like anti-establishment, did not want to be involved in any kind of system, like even if it meant success. He just really had this disdain for the big music industry and wanted to do things his own way, even if it made it difficult for him to have a big career. Like he's like, I don't want to be a sellout. I don't want to, you know, get involved in these things that like I don't believe in. Like I want to play my music in the way that I want to, and I want to have this career, but I also want to do it my way.
To quote, I think it's Frank Sinatra, I'll do it my way.
Exactly.
That is Frank Sinatra, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
We'll
Close
say it
enough.
is. It is now.
Right. We claimed it, so. So Blaze settled in Houston after singing in various cities, and his friend Gurf Morlix, which I assume is a stage name, but maybe not. But Gurf was his producer and backup band, and a new label called Zephyr Records signed them as their first recording artist. So they produced his singles If Only I Could Fly and Let Me Ride in Your Big Cadillac. So Blaze started hanging out with his favorite songwriter, Townes Van Zandt. So they would often drink together and did not really seem to be the best influence on each other. So in 1979, Zephyr Records flew Blaze to New York City to open for Kinky Friedman at Lone Star Cafe. So he and Townes moved in together at the Gramercy Park Hotel and racked up room service and paid big tips to servers. They were a bit out of control, as you can imagine, to men who kind of have a little bit of money suddenly, who
Mm-hmm.
like to drink and party and have a good
Who
time.
like to spend that money? Yeah.
Uh-huh, exactly. So Sybil showed up at Blaze's last show at the Lone Star Cafe. He had been drinking and he was rambunctious and his set was not going well. And he was actually fired on stage mid-set that night in a full house. So
Eek.
not a good time.
Oof.
Not a good
No.
time. Sybil left and that was the last time that she ever saw him. So that trip, along with the Houston oil bust, bankrupted Zephyr Records. So was not a good first recording artist for them to sign, apparently. But Blaze still had Townes, and he idolized him. And they would drink nonstop and write songs together. And Blaze would play gigs around various cities. And it was a running joke that his guitar was often in the pawn shop. So he and Townes would share a guitar for their gigs. So it's basically like, who has the guitar tonight? Because our other one is in the pawn shop because we have no money.
That's so funny.
It really is. So friends said that Blaze just wanted to speak his truth and that he was always one to get involved or say something when he thought something should be done or said. And he wasn't afraid to be political in his songs, which many musicians did not do at the time. Like, this is the 80s. Like, this wasn't really a big thing at this point. People really shied away from that. So he hated Republicans and just politicians in general. But he did write a song called Oval Room to call out President Ronald Reagan. And I love me these lyrics. So I think this is the last time I put some lyrics in here, but I just loved him. I had to include him. But it goes, in his oval room, in his rocking chair, he's the president, but I don't care. He's a businessman. He's got business ties. He's got dollar signs in both his eyes. Got a big airplane, take him everywhere. Got his limousine when he get there. Everywhere he goes, make the people mad, makes the poor man beg and the rich man glad. And I just snaps over here.
Yep. Yeah.
So Blaze would often play at a bar called Emma Joe's in Austin, and he was known for sleeping underneath pool tables because he didn't really have a place of his own. He would just kind of crash wherever he could, which often included underneath the pool tables while people were playing
I
pool.
bet he stunk so bad. I'm sorry.
There's like, there he is down there again.
Oh, I can smell him in here.
Yep.
Just think about, okay, I just think about like when you're out drinking and you get the drinking sweats. You know what I
Right.
mean? And you're like running around and then you wake up the next morning and your mouth is dry and like
Mm-hmm.
the alcohol is like seeping out of your pores and
Yep.
there's sweat and then you're just
Yeah.
sleeping
It's just
under a pool table.
gross. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that bar did not smell good in general, so it
No,
probably
I mean, I'm sure he fit right in.
right.
I'm sure he wasn't the only one underneath a pool table, but you know what
Yes.
I'm saying? It was probably just
Yeah.
not the best sense going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. We're just making sure this is a very descriptive podcast. We want to make sure you feel like you're there. But friends did talk about one time when Townes had just gotten out of rehab and was playing at Emma Joe's and he forgot the words to one of his songs. And Blaze got up and sang on stage with him until he got back on track and then Blaze sat back down. So people said that really spoke a lot about who like Blaze was and his character, that his friend was on stage struggling. So he's like, I'm going to jump in, kind of help him get back where he's going, and then I'm going to step back and let him have his moment.
Hmm.
So, in case you were wondering why this documentary was called The Duct Tape Messiah, we are finally to the point about the duct tape. So, here we go. So Blaze saw people wearing silver collar tips, which I had to Google because I did not know what that was. But they're like the little things you see on like cowboy shirts, like the little like silver buttony things, you know? So he thought it was ridiculous that someone would have like silver, like actual silver collar tips. So he made himself some out of duct tape as like his statement and started wearing his suits that way, like his cowboy shirts with his little duct tape collar tips.
Yeah.
So that turned into his thing, and he was soon wearing duct tape in some fashion wherever he went. So he would put duct tape crosses on his back, like the Nike symbol on his cowboy boots in duct tape. He would make fanny packs, guitar straps. He even had a duct tape soup. Nope.
He ate it. Um, this does make
Duct
me think
tape
though.
suit.
I kind of need to find the picture, but I remember in high school, I made a duct tape suit
You
for one
did.
of my friends. Like
You did.
we stayed up all night at my parents' house and so much duct tape, making a duct tape suit.
I definitely thought about that when I read that. 100% that's where
Yeah.
my mind went to. Yes. So Blaze was also into art, as someone who makes things out of duct tape would be. So he would often make these like colorful, like whimsical drawings of animals and other objects. And friends said that he would like layer his art on top of other art. So he would like get like these random manila folders and like draw a bird, and then he would like put some plastic on it and draw a fish, and then put something else on it, and that just like these weird random layers of art. He was also known to dumpster dive, which again, I'm sure adds to the smell in this bar. Um, and he would do that to find like art materials or just anything else that he wanted. And the trash company in Austin was BFI, like that was just the name of the company. And so that logo was on all the dumpsters. And Blaze would joke to his friends that it stood for Blaze Foley Inside because he liked to hang out in the
He's like, I'm
dumpsters.
in that dumpster.
So Blaze really loved people and interacting with people, and that was really clear, like in the songs that he wrote. If you think back to the Treehouse and just his love for
Yeah.
people in general.
This is all making so much sense though about who recommended this. I'm like, this is such a Kevin and Sam Mitchell
1,000%.
artist story, all of it.
I'm telling you, the whole time I was watching that documentary, I'm like, this all makes so much sense. I
It makes
100%,
sense.
yeah, completely agree. So in 1980, Blaze and Gurf were performing when they met John and Laurie Hill, and they invited them to hang out at their recording studio, Loma Ranch. So they would record some music here and there as they were hanging out, and Blaze started an album tentatively called Blaze Foley Inside. So John told Blaze to leave the master tapes with him, but Blaze refused and wanted to have them on him at all times. And Blaze left them in his car one day, and someone broke in and stole them. So he said it was probably because they were shiny. He's like, yeah, they saw something shiny. They wanted to
Yeah,
get it. Again, these are before the days of like, that is it. Like, that recording is what exists.
that's the
And
only one. Yeah.
yeah, does not exist anywhere else. John was devastated, but he said Blaze didn't seem too broken up about it. It was just kind of, yeah, whatever. It
He
happens.
seems
Do
like
it
a
again.
very like go with the wind where he's like, well,
Hmm.
that's what the universe wanted to happen and that's what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Blaze started binge drinking, blowing off gigs, and spending more time with Towns, and Gurf knew it was time for him to get out, so he left for LA. By 1981, Blaze was frequently playing music in Austin and starting to stand out and get noticed. In 1983, he was given another chance to record an album through a connection to a wealthy man in Georgia. So Blaze called Gurf and said they were going to make a record in Muscle Shoals and he would fly him out. So Blaze and Towns picked up Gurf from the airport, and Gurf said they were paranoid and thought they were being chased by people who weren't there, like the FBI, the KKK, etc. So they're like, "Oh, that car behind us is whoever." So kind of like odd behavior.
Yeah.
So the studio was professional, but the FBI busted the executive producer for distributing cocaine. So maybe they weren't too paranoid because the FBI really was there.
That's true. Maybe they knew what they were talking about, and Gurf was just didn't know what was happening.
You know what? A broken clock is right twice a day. So just saying. So the master tapes Blaze had recorded were seized as assets by the FBI, and years later, boxes of Blaze's records were discovered in a Georgia warehouse. So the FBI called Blaze and told him they didn't need what they had confiscated and asked Blaze if the records were his. So Blaze said yes and picked them up, but realized that the record probably wouldn't go anywhere. So he sold them for $1 in the back of his friend's pickup truck, and he gave them away if someone didn't have the dollar. So it's literally like when you used to walk around and they're like, buy my mixtape, please.
Yep. Yep.
Here's a CD. So in 1987, after a decade of writing songs, Lena Nelson gave Blaze's demo cassette to her dad, Willie. Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard recorded Blaze's song, If Only I Could Fly. Unfortunately, new staff came in at the record company and they didn't move forward with Blaze's song, and that just crushed him because it had finally gotten his big break. Like, Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard in the 80s playing your song, yeah, it would have been big.
Yeah.
So, so sometimes people loved him, and other times he got kicked out for being drunk and rambunctious. You know, we all have that friend who you love them, but then sometimes you're just like, enough.
You're doing the most. Yeah.
You're doing the most. But he wore it as a badge of honor and was kicked out of most bars in Austin at one point or another. A man named Rod Kennedy kicked Blaze out at a music festival and later Blaze saw him playing at Emma Joe's and spit on him. So,
Not not the best behavior, sir.
you know they're doing it in the NFL now. So
True,
spitting on each
true.
other. Never goes away, I guess. That's the ultimate insult always.
I know, right?
So Kennedy jumped off stage and assaulted Blaze, and they ran into each other later, and Blaze apologized. In 1988, Towns gave Blaze's demo tape to Heartland Records, who were based out of London. So they were very interested in Blaze, but in his anti-establishment fashion, he refused to sign the contract. He didn't want anyone to own him, and finally, on November 28th, 1988, Blaze signed it before crumbling it up and throwing it at his agent and saying, "Okay, now you own me."
He's like, I'll sign it, but I gotta make a statement about it.
You know, I get it because those contracts are, they do kind of own them.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not wrong. Again. So his album with Heartland Records were called Previously Unknown. He wanted to record some of his old songs, and while he was waiting for his tour in Europe for his new album to begin, Blaze also wanted to record some of his music at the Outhouse, a bar in Austin, so he could get the rest of his old songs on tape. So he planned on recording 15 of them and intended for 20% of the sales for that tape to go to an Austin homeless shelter. He refused to work a day job because he thought that would make him like a sellout and someone who wasn't devoted to his music. So Blaze continued to couch surf and just stay wherever he could while playing and writing his music. So in June of 1988, Blaze met a 66-year-old man named Concho January. Again, assuming this is not his real name.
Who knows? I don't know.
Who
Maybe.
knows? You know, you never know, I guess. So Blaze was sleeping on the couch of a friend's back porch at 904 West Mary in Austin, and Concho was their neighbor. So they met singing together in a backyard song circle and then began hanging out and drinking together. Concho's son, Carrie January, who went by JJ, was paid to be Concho's caretaker. So maybe it is a real name. I just thought January was a last name I've never heard before.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess anything can be a last name if you make it.
True.
Um, So JJ would show up at Concho's on the first of the month and take his veterans benefits check and social security check and would supposedly spend it on himself, including buying heroin. So not a great caretaker.
No.
No. And when Concho told JJ he didn't have the money, JJ would beat him. So Blaze and JJ would get into arguments often over Concho. So Blaze looked out for Concho and would take him to the store or the laundromat when he was able to borrow a car. So Blaze told JJ he needed to make sure Concho was getting food and taken care of with those checks. And one time Blaze chased JJ off with a table leg and JJ called the police and filed a complaint. Another time after an argument, Blaze beat JJ up and ended in jail. And Blaze supposedly told his friend on the phone, "This kid may kill me, but I'm not going to let him beat up his dad." So a really sad situation, but he is standing up, you know, for his friend
Yeah,
who you can't just like take his money and go buy heroin and leave him to starve for the rest of the month.
exactly. Yeah.
So on the night of January 31st, 1989, someone called Blaze's friend Kastner to pick him up at the outhouse because he'd been drinking and picking fights. Later, Blaze made his way to Concho's where he drank vodka while Concho did his Thunderbird.
I assume that means working on his car, but I've never did his Thunderbird was a weird phrase, but that was the exact
Hmm.
phrase that I read. So I was like, I'm just going to use that in case it's something that I'm not thinking of. My assumption is
Yeah,
that he's like working on his Thunderbird
working on a
car.
car.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I did
I
not
was
want to
like,
make
is
that
Thunderbird
assumption.
a drink? Is Thunderbird slang for something? You know.
If you know and it's not that, please let us know
Yeah.
because
I'd love
that
to
was my
know.
assumption.
I'm not judging, I just want to know.
Yeah, he's doing something in there.
Yeah. So Concho's checks would arrive by mail in a few hours the morning of February 1st. So Blaze was showing Concho some sketches he had done when JJ stopped by. So Blaze started threatening JJ to not steal Concho's check, and JJ ran to the back of the house and returned with a 22 rifle. JJ shot Blaze once in the chest. Blaze stumbled out to the front yard and was still alive when police arrived. Blaze said, "Please don't let me die," and identified Concho's son Carrie as the person who shot him. So Blaze, who was taken to Brackenridge Hospital, where he died on the operating table. So the bullet had hit his liver, which was already damaged from years of drinking. And Blaze Foley did die at the age of 39 years old. So this huge, big life, and he was only 39.
Yeah.
So when Blaze's friends called the funeral home, they learned that they wouldn't release the body without payment. So his friends started collecting money around town and would take it to the funeral home in small amounts as they could, so that the funeral home would take the next step in the process. Some friends would collect money from outstanding bets, and girls from an escort service in town chipped in money as well. So like the whole town is just rallying together for Blaze.
Yeah, and his friend said they would literally like show up at the funeral home and be like, "Here, we got $20 more. We got another $40." And they're like, "Okay, we'll put him in some clothes. Okay, we'll put him in this casket. We'll like basically we can't do anything until we have the money." And they're just like scrambling and like literally taking it to them as much as they
As
can.
they
Like, "Here's what
could.
I have.
Yeah.
Here's what I have. Please do something." Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone came together to make sure Blaze could have a proper funeral. So Blaze's funeral was held on February 4th. It was a freezing day, but still hundreds of people attended and were standing in the aisles and outside because the funeral home was packed. Everyone wore duct tape armbands in honor of Blaze, and the Baptist preacher spoke about religion and being saved, and his friends found it amusing because Blaze was not religious. So they're like, okay, but
I think
okay,
we've all been there at
all been there. Yep.
funerals before.
But others got up and spoke about Blaze and sang songs, including If Only I Could Fly. The funeral home tried to remove the body before the service was over, and his friends joked that Blaze had been 86 from every bar in town, and now he's being 86 from his own funeral. Which
They're
is
all, it's so fitting.
so fitting, where he's like, now I'm getting kicked out of my own funeral. So there was no official procession to the cemetery because they couldn't afford a police escort, which I don't think I fully realized you had to pay for. I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that either, but also everything in the funeral industry cost a shit ton of money, so why not add
Yeah,
that on?
it's true. It's probably one of those things that's just like in the cost that I just
Yeah.
never thought about. But I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense because it's like they do have to do it. You have to
Yeah.
pay them to do that. They don't
Yeah.
just show up. So
Yeah. Blaze and his friends, they were over here getting the a la carte package, so they're just
they're
what do
like,
I have to
he's
do?
anti-establishment. We are not having the police around
Nope.
here.
Don't need them here.
And in true Blaze fashion, everyone got lost along the way and kept turning around and following other people and letting others know they were going the wrong way. Some people went to the wrong cemetery and didn't make it to the service at all.
Like it was so funny in the documentary because they like are flashing between like four different people like telling this story, and they're like,
Hmm.
yeah, everyone is driving down this road, and then you see all the cars coming back, and they're like, nope, nope, turn it around, and
Turn
they're
around,
going
turn
in the other
around.
direction. They're like, nope, still not. Just like everyone trying to
Yes.
find the cemetery because they had no escort and they didn't know where they were going, and it
And I
was like
know
20
wherever
degrees.
Blaze was, he was laughing so
Oh
hard.
yeah,
He's like, oh my goodness, the chaos.
yes, yes.
Once most people had arrived, they all brought duct tape out of their cars and duct taped his whole casket. Everyone said it was truly a celebration of his life. 12 days after Blaze was killed, someone set Concho's house on fire while he slept. He made it out alive, but the arsonist was never caught. Marcia said their family was scattered everywhere and they didn't talk to each other much. Her mom would refuse to speak to her for months at a time, so no one knew what was going on in everyone else's life. One day she finally got her mom on the phone and asked if she'd heard from Mike, and her mom said, "Oh, honey, didn't you know? He was killed." And that's how Marcia found out that Blaze had died.
Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Just like, oh, you didn't hear?
Because my
What?
thing is, like, I understand, like, some families don't speak a lot, but that's a phone call.
Yeah.
That's when
Yeah.
you're like, I need to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also in the same phone call that their sister, that she found out that their sister had also died. So she is just talking to her mom and finds out both of her siblings have passed
Mm-hmm.
away.
Yeah. Like, yeah,
Talk about a trauma dump on a phone call.
exactly. This poor lady.
So Carrie January was charged with first-degree murder and held on a $25,000 bond. And in September of 1989, he went to trial, and after 2 hours of deliberation, Carrie J.J. January was acquitted. So Concho testified against his own son and said that JJ shot Blaze while Blaze was sitting in his chair, but apparently forensic evidence did not support this. We can't find really any details on this. This is just kind of what we saw. Like, we don't really have the forensic evidence or what was reported on. Concho had also previously told a friend that Blaze was standing up and trying to back out of the house when he was shot, and he thought saying Blaze was sitting would make him sound less threatening. But also standing and backing away also doesn't really sound threatening. Like he's trying to get away, like,
Yeah.
running away. Um, Concho was older and a lifelong heavy drinker and did not appear to be the most reliable witness at trial, which is kind of hard for those situations because once you get cross-examined, it's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. They did say at one point that like he couldn't identify like his own son in the courtroom, and people were like, it
Oof.
just was a
Yeah.
mess. And the prosecution's like, it's really unfortunate because you have an eyewitness, but then you have such an unreliable eyewitness that everything can just fall
Yeah.
apart. And it sounds like he really was trying to like say the right thing to make sure that like there was justice for Blaze, and then he kind of said something different in trying to make it seem like a different situation than it was. And yeah, just kind of a mess.
Yeah. So JJ's defense was that he feared for his life since Blaze had physically assaulted him before. In 1994, Tom Tobin came across a copy of the cassette of Blaze's 15 songs recorded at the outhouse, and he and Craig McDonald, along with John Kastner, who had helped Blaze record the songs in the first place, teamed up to finance the cassette's reissue on CD, and the album was named Live at the Austin Outhouse. And that is the life and death of country music singer and songwriter Blaze Foley.
And what a life it was. I mean, this man lived
It
a
was
life.
short, but he lived it to its fullest. Yeah.
hmm Yeah. And like his friends, and there were so many of them, and even talking about like his wild shenanigans and off the wall things that he did, like everyone just spoke so highly of him. Like you could tell that he really was like very loved and a very like well-regarded person.
hmm Yeah. It kind of makes me think of the movie like Big Fish. I don't know if you've seen it. Um, it's like Ewan
I don't think
McGregor in
so.
it, and um, so basically it's about like this son and his dad tells all these like extravagant stories, and he like
hmm
gets annoyed because he's like, Dad, stop telling that story. But then he like kind of gets to go and see like there was some truth to all of his dad's stories and like how
hmm
beautiful it was that like obviously they're a little exaggerated, but like look at this big full life he lived and like tells
hmm
people, and like that's kind of what like
Mm.
this makes me think of like
Yeah.
these like crazy stories of just being like, and then I was just sleeping under a pool table. Like I was living in a tree house with potatoes on my feet and hash browns in the morning,
Yes.
like this just big, you know.
Yeah. And like you said, it's very fitting that my cousin was the one who recommended this. It all
Yeah,
it all lines up here.
it lines up perfectly.
But yeah, really sad. And I had never heard of this person. I did go listen to the full album that's out there, and like I really enjoyed it.
hmm
It's a good listen, so definitely check it out. Yeah, and someone who really just like wrote songs from the heart, you know?
Yeah.
Very sad. All right, well, transition to give you a little positive before we leave for the week. Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is that, I said we had a snow day, and then Kevin and I are like, huh, what are we gonna do? What's the plan? And we kind of threw it back to COVID times, because
Mm.
during COVID, Kevin and I played this game basically every single night. We would get off of work, we would start playing this game, we would go to bed. The weekends, we were playing this game. And then one day, so it's basically a zombie game. It's like an apocalypse game, but we turned the
Mhm.
zombies off because I'm not good at video games. And then one day when we were playing it, we're like, we should turn the zombies on. And we did it wrong. And accidentally, it was like we'd been playing for like in the game like 2 years. And we made it where all the zombies that should have spawned in that two
Oh no.
years spawned at once. So it was bad.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds like it.
but, and also there was like a glitch with the game, so we like lost like half of like what we had done and like couldn't whatever, so we stopped playing. But now that we have like an Xbox and a PlayStation, we were like, oh, because they took away the like dual, like
Hmm.
we used to play, be able to play on one screen. So they took that away, but now you can like cross play. So we started cross playing and we have our two TVs and I have one TV
Very
against the other.
nice.
We're running around and it's just bringing me joy because it's just like mindless, Like I'm
Yeah.
out here hunting deer and making meat stew over a campfire and planting a garden and it's just so nice. It's just there's a lot bad going on in the world and sometimes even just like watching TV or
Hmm.
anything like that's hard. So it's just so nice to sit down and just do something that's like this is dumb but brings me
Sometimes,
joy.
sometimes you need those things, you know? Sometimes you
Yeah.
just need the little things that bring you joy. And that's like, that is what the perk of the week is all about. You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be this like big grand thing. It's just those little things in life that bring you
Mm-hmm.
joy, you know?
Yeah.
I love
It's
it.
just playing a little video game when I'm not a video gamer. And it's we literally played like all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Like we're literally like eating dinner, running
Love
around,
it.
eating dinner, running around. So it was just very joyful and
Nice.
it's just nice. It's something we really enjoy and we were laughing yesterday because we had like a frozen pizza for lunch and I was like, I'm doing boy things. Like I'm eating a frozen pizza and playing a video game. And then for dinner, because I didn't want to grocery shop, I was like, oh, I have a jar of Alfredo, I have noodles, I have chicken, and I threw it together. I was like, this is a boy meal. This is what they put together in a frat house to eat, is like a jar of
You're just living in a
Alfredo
frat
and
house right
noodles.
now.
Literally, I'm like, I feel like such a boy, like a teenage boy or college
You
age
know,
boy, just,
they all seem pretty happy. Maybe they got it together. They know what's up.
I mean, I wasn't sad. I was
Right?
feeling pretty good. So
Look at Blaze. I mean,
yeah, but that's my perk of the week is yeah, it's called 7 Days to Die, and we just kind of brought it back to like because it was like snowed in, kind of felt like COVID
hmm.
times, you couldn't go anywhere. So
Yeah.
it's really nice. But
Nice.
yeah, so that is my perk of the week. Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
Yeah, I really enjoyed actually our weekend of being snowed in and not being able to go anywhere. Kind of takes the pressure off of having to have this like
Mm-hmm.
activity-filled weekend. It's like, well, we can't leave. And it's like, oh, it actually ended up being nice and relaxing. And part of that is my perk of the week, which I'm sure, as I've mentioned on this podcast before, that I do not cook. At all, really. But my husband's birthday was this weekend, and I decided to make him a cake from scratch. So I made a homemade carrot cake
Nice.
with homemade cream cheese icing, and it turned out really good. So,
Nice.
yeah, that's how we
Did
spent.
you grate the carrots yourself? Because
Absolutely. I sure
I did
did.
that for my mom and my hand was orange for like 3 days.
It
And
was
I was like, this is horrible.
it was a lot of effort. Millie was helping me, and so she helped me kind of like start things together. I'm like, okay, obviously you can't help grate the carrots, so I'm like, I'm gonna do this. You go do something else, and then she come back. She's like, "Are you done yet?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Are you done yet?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay,
Mm-mm.
I think we got enough. Come measure these." And I'm like, "Oh God, that's only half of what I need." Okay, see you later.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that for my mom and it was literally I was just like,
Yep.
"Oh my God." And then because it's just the carrots like stains and I'm like,
Yes.
"I'm orange."
Yeah, I don't think it. No, I don't think I stained me orange, but it
Nice.
was
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite the endeavor. But actually, it turned out good. I was pretty
Nice.
impressed. I also was not planning on doing the icing, and then Andrew's like, you know what's really easy to, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So he walked me through it,
He's
and I made the
he's
cream cheese
like,
icing.
are you really gonna buy a jar of cream cheese
He's like,
frosting?
okay, we're gonna,
You
all
can
right.
just put the powdered sugar and the cream cheese in the mixer.
He's like, we got all the ingredients right here. Well, we also, and this is, I'm going to be really dumb with this, but we didn't have enough powdered sugar. And Andrew's like, you just blend up regular sugar. And I was like, no idea. I had no idea that's how powdered sugar was made. So
Yeah.
we made our own powdered sugar.
Yeah. There's a lot of things like, because like to make butter, it's just like you just whip like heavy whipping cream and it
Yeah.
just makes butter. So I
Yep.
kind of want to make homemade butter at some point, but I'm also like,
Mm.
I don't eat butter that much. So I'm like,
Oh, we
do I
eat a
want to,
lot of butter. We go
but I'm
through a
like, do I want
lot
to
of
make
butter.
my own butter to just like put it in like a dish?
I mean, I feel like
You
your
know?
homemade butter, you need like a homemade loaf of bread and then smear some
Yeah.
good butter on
And
it.
I just feel
That's,
like we don't have a lot of bread around the house usually.
well, that's sad because I love some
Or
bread.
like rolls. Yeah. We don't, that's just never something I buy as much. So like
Yeah.
usually the butter just goes into like something else, you
Yeah.
know? Goes into the
Yeah.
cookies. It goes
I
into
feel
the
like
baking and the
if you're
cooking.
cooking with it, I feel like the homemade butter
It's like
probably wouldn't be as big of a deal. But if you're like
yeah.
smearing it on like a nice
Yeah, if
big
I was like smearing it or like
chunk of
making it
bread,
something. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, let us know. What are you up to this nice cozy winter? I've had a lot of weekends at home this month, and I guess it's a new month now, but this year so far, and it's been nice. It's been nice just
It's
chilling
nice to be
and
calm and chill because
yes, especially after the
things
holiday
are gonna get
season.
busy.
Yeah. It's like things have been busy, things are going to get busy again. It's just a nice kind of slow time. And for right now, at least, my kids are at the age where they're enjoying playing in the house and doing things. And it's not like a constant, we
Mm-hmm.
got to go out and do stuff and we got to do this or you need this constant. It's like, okay, we can just play with these toys and everyone's content and happy. And, so
Yeah.
it's,
Go play in
it's
your
nice.
room. Don't look at me.
Yes. Except for the baby who is just going to try to fall off of everything because she's going to climb on any possible surface and then tumble right off of it. So it's just constantly keeping me on my toes. But yeah, we
Yep.
learned some good skills apparently. Anyway, let us know what you're doing this cozy winter. What are you playing? What are you watching? What are you eating? What are you making? All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Did you listen to this album? Do you like it? Let us know. I wish we could again insert some little clips in here, but I don't want to get sued by I don't know who. Maybe this John
We don't
Casner
make
man.
we don't make enough money on this podcast to
Nope,
afford that lawyer fee.
exactly. But you can do all those things and all the places in the show notes. And most importantly, just, starting your 2026 off right. It's already the second month of 2026, but, it'll be like a Valentine's Day present. Leave us a rating, a review, a 5 stars, a thumbs up, just anything to let us know that you are listening and that you like this podcast. It's really appreciated. We're on YouTube. We're on, all the places.
All the
We're on
things.
patreon.com/caffeinated crimes, where you have now, what did we just release? 63 bonus episodes.
Too many.
A lot of bonus episodes. You got so much backlog you can get caught up on during this cozy winter. The groundhog says we got 6 more weeks of winter, so you need to go listen to all those backlog bonus
Yeah,
episodes
go
because you got
listen.
nothing else to do. Yep.
Yeah, but I think that about covers it all. We enjoyed you being here. If you have any cases you want to recommend, we haven't really said that in a while, but please, we love recommendations because
Yes.
sometimes we run out of inspiration. Not
Yeah.
inspiration, and you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we need to hear about a case we haven't heard about before so that we
Yes.
can research it. So, but yeah, in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.